your energy forecast for Monday, February 5th. Okay, so we have a very large day coming at us here today. This is the day that I spoke about in the ascension forecast for this week. Definitely going to be a full-blown mental and emotional, let's call it battle royale. Now, a lot of this is because the moon is in Sagittarius energy. So, typically speaking, we should be on the better side of moods and attitudes, perspectives and narratives. We should be optimistic. We should be confident. We should be seeking truth. We should just have an overall positive demeanor. However, Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, shifting into Aquarius energy here today, which is going to really apply a lot of pressure to the mental plane. So there is an astro forecast that I put out for this particular event. If you want to go ahead, take a listen to that. Of course, you can also take a listen to February's energy forecast, how all of these astro events are kind of intertwining, the influence that this is going to actually have on us. And of course, if you've downloaded your February zodiac forecast, you will know where this energy is building up in your life, how it's actually manifesting. So the whole Mercury shifting into Aquarius energy is a whole pressurized system within itself, definitely going to alter our thoughts, our narratives, our perception, our understanding. We are going to start plucking out some serious details. But as that wasn't enough, let's just talk about the fact that Mercury moving into this Aquarius energy is within orb, making direct aspects with Pluto. And the Pluto energy is definitely going to, let's say, taint those rose-colored glasses that essentially we're wearing with the moon and Sag. We are intensifying our mental narratives. Things are going to get a little bit dark. Things are going to get a little bit interesting. We're flipping tables. We are unearthing hidden details. We are really tapping into the darker shadow side of the perspective, of the understanding that we have to dive into in order to see the greater, grander truth. And that's where things are going to get very interesting. Especially the fact that there's 17 different aspects going on here today. 17. That is a huge day in the cosmos. And of course, 12 of those particular aspects are going to involve the moon. So we definitely have a lot going on. I'm going to do my best to condense this particular forecast because I don't want to be here for half hour, 40 minutes talking about the complexities of each different aspect. But I think it's important that we dabble, even if it's just briefly, on what some of these energy dynamics are going to mean for us moving throughout a very, very pressurized day. Okay, so let's jump into it. First of all, 10 minutes into the day, this is when Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, is going to be shifting into the Aquarius energy. So we already start the day off with a huge amount of pressure in the head, rapidly processing a lot of different details, perceptions, understandings, perspectives, narratives, the whole kit and caboodle. We're definitely going to feel a very different vibe in our mental plane, in our dialogue, in our communication styles, in our just ability to bring information in. So then the moon in this Sag energy going to make a positive interaction with Jupiter. Jupiter rules over the Sagittarius energy, but Jupiter is currently in Taurus energy. Jupiter, again, is about growth and expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings. And in this Taurus energy, it's been a very low, slow option to see what our opportunities and options actually are, what we're building towards, what we want to build, what we want to create, what we have to kind of change and adjust in our physical realms in order to align with the vision, the goal, the dream. The moon interacting with Jupiter in this way, definitely pumping us up, definitely the cheerleader vibes, definitely a pep in our step. We're feeling good, we're feeling optimistic, we're feeling confident. We don't necessarily know the details of the path that we're about to kind of venture into, but we're feeling optimistic about it. The visual that we are trying to build in our mental plane, in our heart space, has definitely got a good vibe to it. We're seeing things from a different angle. That is all well and good. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, in this Capricorn energy, trying to take a business-minded approach to her thoughts, to her affections, to her emotions. Venus is going to be interacting in a very positive way with the sun. The sun, of course, in this Aquarius energy, shining a bright light on where we have to break away from the old, where it is that we have to kind of override some of those negative situations, where it is that we could do better, where we could improve, where we can make some progress. So this particular interaction, it is a favorable one, but it's also going to put us in a situation later on in the day, because these guys are going to go ahead and actually interact with Chiron, the wounded healer, here very shortly after this particular aspect. It's showing us that the quest that we're on for our happiness, for our joy, for our safety, for our security, for our stability is really at odds with what it is that we should be doing. So there is a to-do list, especially with the Capricorn energy. There's a to-do list. There's what we have to clean up, what we have to close the door on, what we have to bring a finality to, what we have to anchor into the present moment, ground in, be sure of in this here and now, in order for us to start planning, strategizing, taking action, making moves towards our future vision, goals, and dreams. And so we feel the pressure. The to-do list is very long, and it feels pressurized even more so because there's not a whole lot of room in our external realm to take action, to make moves in the way that we would like to be doing right now. We want to see progress, we want to see improvement, but we don't even know how to begin that in our exterior realm. So here we are kind of trapped in our inner realm, and we have a lot of thoughts, we have a lot of feelings. We have this attempt where we want to start building ourselves up and closer to the vision, the goal, the dream that feels a lot better, that looks a lot better to us. But in our external realm, there are just things that are blocking us from actually bringing those particular elements to life. And so it just feels very conflicting, and it can lead us to kind of feel the tension, the pressure building, and it could put us in a situation where we are kind of carrying a little bit more guilt for the, I'm going to say, the guilt of not doing what we think we should be doing, the guilt of just feeling like we're in a state of paralysis when we have all of these things to do, the guilt of us being concentrated on things that shouldn't be at the top of the priority list when there's so many other things that need to be addressed first and foremost. So this is where the back and forth wavering effect starts for us. And it leads us into a very, I'm going to say, tension-filled time here in the first part of the day. The moon in Sag is then going to semi-square, creating tension and conflict with Mercury. Mercury just moved into this Aquarius energy. So this is like us trying to fine-tune our perspective. This is us realizing that, emotionally speaking, we're not on the same page or even in the same book with Mr. Mercury now in this Aquarius energy. The moon in Sag wants us to be dreaming a bigger dream, wants us to be really dabbling into the visual, wants us to be seeking for new meaning, new depth, new truth. Mercury, on the other hand, in this Aquarius energy is just trying to get in alignment. The higher form of the intellect, the lower form of the intellect, we need a little bit of time to adjust here. And the Aquarius energy that Mercury's now in has us very focused on the vision, on the goal, on the dream. We have this thirst, this hunger, if you will, for knowledge. We've been lacking a lot of information and details. And so Mercury, now in this Aquarius energy, has all this pressure building up in our headspace. Meanwhile, the moon, which is our heart space in Sag energy, bouncing from one thing to the next, scattered-brained as all F, right? We're just all over the place. So our heart and our head, not on the same page. Then the moon in Sag goes ahead and semi-squares Pluto, because of course Pluto and Mercury pretty much on top of each other at this particular point in time. Pluto, the great transformer himself in this Aquarius energy, definitely going to take us down a little trip down memory lane, probably in the darkest parts of our thoughts, of our ideas, of our memories. And again, does it feel good? No, it's not supposed to, but it's very revealing on where it is that we have to flip the script, change our perspective, if you will, see where it is that some of the darker thoughts, darker emotions need to come into our awareness to see where we can override them and turn them into something powerful, something that we actually have control of. So this is going to intensify the inner confusion. This is going to intensify our, let's call it, challenge to stay in a positive, confident type of mind space. It's not going to be very easy to do so. And we're overwhelmed with the pressure in our heads, with the pressure in our hearts. Therefore, the restlessness, the anxiety festering up in our physical form isn't going to feel so good. And then we have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, in this Capricorn energy, getting into the boxing ring, squaring off with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy. So this is kind of what I mentioned earlier between Venus and the sun. Yes, that was a positive aspect, but just as we have that realization on where it is that, we're carrying some guilt, where we want to improve in our personal life, we want to improve in our outer realm, if you will, but there's no moves to be made. So we're sitting with our thoughts, our energy, our affections. It may not be at the particular point on the priority list that it should be, and then we feel bad about that. Again, very back and forth, very wavering type of energy here today. So Venus getting into the boxing ring with Chiron is going to illuminate where it is that we're feeling real and raw and vulnerable, where we're holding fear, doubt, insecurity, especially when it comes to our happiness, our joy, and that has a major effect and influence on how we're feeling about the people that we're sharing our time, our energy, our space with. This is definitely going to bring on a whole lot of emotional confusion. The moon in Sag energy then going to sextile, beautiful interaction with the sun in Aquarius energy. This is going to help us out a bit. There's a new level of awareness coming into the focus that we need to be focused upon in order to unpack the not so nice thoughts and feelings, in order to override them, in order for us to kind of adopt a better perspective, a better way of looking at things that will put us in a placement of power. So the moon in this Sag energy, again, very optimistic, very confident. This sextile is harmonizing with the sun, shining a bright light, and this Aquarius energy, where it is that we have to do better, where it is that we have to be better. Once you know better, you have to do better. And therefore, we are taking a good look at where we're feeling low, where we're feeling dark, where we're feeling these not so nice thoughts and feelings, and what it is that we can do to really pressurize them, change them, transform them into something better, into something powerful. The moon in Sag then goes ahead and trines Chiron. So a trine means that there's a little bit of growth. Something came into our awareness out of that darkness, out of those thoughts, out of those feelings. Something popped off. There's an aha moment. And emotionally speaking, we are growing. We are healing through it. We are realizing where it is that time, energy, and attention needs to be focused on this particular, let's call it wound, in order for us to feel empowered. The moon is then going to interact with Venus, again, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, in this Capricorn energy, in such a way that is going to show us where it is that we have to take a time out and restabilize in our emotional realm. The confusion earlier, especially that square with Chiron, really had us all up in our feels. And that's not something that the Capricorn energy that Venus is currently sitting in enjoys to experience. We don't want to sit all up in our feels. We want to do something about it. We want to be productive. We want to see progress. And emotionally speaking, I think we are making a little bit of progress here. But again, the moon in the Sag energy definitely focused on the bigger picture, the bigger vision, the bigger dream. We have a tendency to over exaggerate our ability to actually achieve said vision. But this Venus energy is anchoring us into our heart space. So likely a heart activation taking place here with this particular energy shift. And we are going to be illuminated on what needs to change in our physical realms in order for us to support ourselves in feeling happy, feeling safe, feeling secure, especially where our relationship dynamics are concerned. The sun in this Aquarius energy is going to sextile Chiron, the wounded healer. So this is definitely going to kind of boost our spirits, put us in a state where we're seeing ourselves from a different set of eyes, where it is that we are seeing the growth, the progress in our inner realm, in our emotional realm, in us trying to cultivate this inspiration, this passion, this desire in order to get out of the situation that we're currently at so that we can clear the space, clean the slate, so we can start building towards what it is that we would prefer to be living and experiencing instead. So the sun and Chiron coming together, it's like a boost in our confidence, a boost in our willpower, a boost in seeing ourselves from a better perspective than maybe we kind of saw ourselves earlier in the day. So then Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we express ourselves, coming up to, bumping into, teaming up with Pluto, both in Aquarius energy. So I'm going to take a little bit of a minute to unpack this. First of all, This really puts us in a situation where we want to get to the bottom of the barrel. We need the truth. We need to flip tables. We need to unearth little hidden details that have been kind of, I'm going to say, purposefully off to the side of our perception. They may have been there all along. We just didn't see them. We weren't in the vibration. We weren't in the frequency to even see these particular details emerge right in our face. Now we have like this pressurized energy where we have to understand where some of the shady situations going on in our lives right now, what's actually going on, how they even got born into existence. This is paranoia. This is darker thoughts. This is darker topics and themes. This is hidden details. This is, let's call them untruths. This is a situation where we realize now that we are lacking some valuable information that will help us gain a lot of perspective, a lot of insight into a topic that has us shook. And so we are a little bit more intense. We are a little bit more focused, a little bit more determined, more so than normal, to get to the bottom of the truth, to understand what the F is going on, especially when relationship dynamics, again, because it's the ever-changing landscape at the moment, especially like what happened, why the change of tone, why the change of mood and attitude, what happened here. The issue is that we may become a little bit borderline obsessed with a certain looping thought, a certain pattern, a certain behavior. We may be actually making a situation a bigger deal than it actually needs to be because we just start piling on the what ifs. We just start kind of understanding that there is this level of paranoia. We don't know where it's coming from. We almost feel like we're being effed over by the universe, by someone in our lives. Like we're waiting for the ball to drop. We're waiting for this betrayal. We're waiting for something not so nice to actually pop off. And if you find yourself in a situation where conversations are kind of taking a turn for the worst, you really need to check yourself because battle of the words definitely going to take center stage if we're in those particular situations. Now, let me also just say there is a high probability of us getting bitch slapped by the universe and having a huge reality check come in and burst our bubble in a big way with this particular aspect. And whatever information, whatever details, whatever news, whatever topics, whatever themes, whatever conversations are popping off under this particular aspect have a very dark tone. We are seeing the worst in people. We're seeing the worst side of the situation. We're seeing the worst of outcomes and circumstances. This is just intensifying our mental pressure and it's activating a lot of anxiety in our physical body. We are not comfortable. It does not feel good. There's a pressurized tension building up in our headspace, giving us the jitteriness that doesn't feel good. There is, I'm going to say, a silver lining to this particular energy, because there always is, which if you're, I'm going to say, clear-minded enough to actually pluck out the silver linings with some of these darker energies, what you will see is clear evidence that we have to make a serious change for the better. Mostly to get us out of these darker situations, this shady type of energy. So that is likely going to be the toughest aspect that pops off here today and really challenging us in our mental plane. Now, shortly thereafter, the moon in Sag will trine. Beautiful interaction with the North Node in Aries energy. The North Node in Aries is trying to get us on the right path, break us away from some of these codependent relationship dynamics, put us in a situation where we get to know ourselves again without the influence of other people's thoughts and opinions and energies tainting or kind of influencing our own energies and therefore skewing who it is that we actually are, how it is that we're operating, and identifying the wants, needs, and desires that we personally have to pursue for our own mission, our own quest, our own truth. And so the moon kind of trining with the North Node is a good vibe. It means we're coming out of that darkness with a little bit of a glimmer on some steps that need to be taken to either close the door on some of the funkiness that we just became illuminated to, or open the door to a path that's going to allow us to kind of make a little bit more progress in a shorter amount of time, not only bringing some of the past topics and themes to a point of finality, but actually get building towards a new path, new mission, new purpose, new quest. The moon is then going to make a very tough interaction with Uranus, the great awakener, in this Taurus energy. And so this is when confusion is going to set in. Again, it happens. It's a pattern. The minute that we gain any kind of insight, any kind of positive energy, any kind of, let's say, aha moment that's going to provide us with the clarity that we want, the dark force energy swoops in and tries to keep us stuck in a state of paralysis. So the moon interacting with Uranus in this way, bringing on the confusion. Not only that, bringing on the fear, the doubt, the insecurities that we have in our lives, how we're thinking, how we're feeling. Once we kind of realize that we are blocking our own blessings, that we're actually the problem, that we're preventing ourselves from moving on and making some progress in a different direction, then it's a total game changer. But emotionally speaking, it does not feel good to hold this much energy in our physical bodies with no healthy way to get it out. So this is the point in time when you're gaining anxiety, that jitteriness, that confusion, where your body, your central nervous system is just popping off. Give the energy something to do. Engage the physical body. Give it an outlet. Or otherwise, it's just going to bounce around like a pinball machine and you're just going to be an absolute nutcase. The moon is then going to interact with Jupiter in not the nicest way, not the best way either. And again, Jupiter rules over the Sag energy, so this is always a little bit intense. And now we're really questioning where it is that we, A, have the opportunity to grow out of the situation and circumstance that we've already deemed not favorable. And B, what is the holdup? What are we afraid of? What is the absolute issue here preventing us from actually believing that we could make small adjustments in our physical realm to break us away from some of the circumstances that we've already identified are not favorable, and of course, clean the slate, clear the space in order for us to build towards something new? What is the deal? The moon then going to make a positive interaction with Mars. So Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires. He's in this Capricorn energy, frustrated as F that he hasn't been able to take as many moves as he would like to make. Why? Because that Capricorn energy needs us to think very long, very hard, very thoroughly, very carefully about our actions. We need a deliberate path, plan, and strategy at this point. So the moon interacting with Mars is building the inner confidence needed, building in inspiration, building in motivation, building in determination. Again, we have to cultivate the fire, the flame, the spark that's going to actually see this particular action plan through. And so the moon kind of vibing with Mars at this point is building us up. That Sag energy, again, just wants to be optimistic and confident about the big picture vision, that goal, that dream. We are definitely getting all fired up in all the right ways. The moon is then going to make a very positive aspect with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, ruling over roles, responsibilities, structures, foundations, willpower, discipline. And in this Pisces energy, this is about the ever-changing landscape of our beliefs. We're testing our beliefs. We need to put them in action here soon. And so because this is a positive interaction, we are definitely building upon realizing that we are going to have to boss up into new roles and responsibilities, new versions of ourselves, new belief systems, new perspectives, if we plan on building a structure, a foundation to not only get us away from where it is that we're at and where it is that we desire to be, but that will be around for the long term. Now, this can bring a little bit of weight, but lucky for us, this is a positive weight. This is like a positive encouragement, a positive pressure to remind us that we can do anything as long as we set our mind to it. We believe that it's possible. We can build whatever we need to build to last us a lifetime, building towards something greater. And of course, providing us a lot of distance away from the structures, the elements, the people, places, and things that we're no longer in alignment with. The last thing that we have going on here today, the moon is going to be interacting with Uranus in the most positive of ways. So earlier in the day, they weren't so great. It was creating confusion. It was highlighting fears, doubts, and insecurities. This is a positive interaction, which means that this is an aha moment. This is a wake up. This is a shake up. We're gaining clarity. We are building in optimism. We are encouraged to override those fears, those doubts, those insecurities. We are starting to understand the smaller adjustments that we can now make in our physical realm, starting with the way that we are looking at ourselves, at our lives, at the people in it, at the situation, at the circumstance. This is a shift, not only in perception, in our mood, in our attitude, and it's 100% needed. And again, like I said, today is a big day, very large day, very, very pressurized day. I would say that we end the day off in a much better frame of mind than we started it in.